What is up, everybody? Welcome into the Fantasy Tap. My name is Michael, and thank you for joining us, whether you're on YouTube or on the podcast. We truly appreciate the support. If you could do us a favor real quick and just click that subscribe button, smash that like button, and click that little bell so you get notified every time we launch a video. And if you're listening to the podcast, we'd really appreciate a review. All of those support us, and it would help us out immensely, and we would truly, truly appreciate it. Now, let's jump into this episode and the zero running back draft strategy. If you don't know what the zero RB strategy is, pretty much you're waiting 3 to 6 rounds to grab your first running back. You're stacking up on wide receivers, you're stacking up on tight ends and a quarterback before you grab that running back or those running backs that you need. So let's talk a couple scenarios or a couple reasons why you wouldn't use the zero running back strategy. And in my opinion, if you're drafting from position 9 up to 1, you're not using zero RB. There's just no point. You can grab a very solid running back, a high-end running back, especially this year with Zeke and Saquon and people feeling queasy about them. You got Jonathan Taylor there, and of course, Derrick Henry, Kamara, and the list goes on, CMC, blah, 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 blah. You've got all those guys to choose from. You can land one of them. You will land one of them. And you could also land a high-end wide receiver in the second round if you choose to do so. So at that point, there's no reason to. If you're using the zero RB strategy, you're drafting from 10 to 12. You're drafting on that turn. Another reason would be if you're drafting there and it's a 3 wide receiver league, that's probably the biggest reason to do a zero RB strategy. So let's talk about what you should do if you decide to go zero RB. Stack up on the tight ends. Tight end early, in my opinion, is the biggest benefit if you're going zero RB. You want to have a mismatch in your lineup. You're not going to have them more than likely in that running back spot, so you want this somewhere else. And I think if you can get a Kelsey, a Waller, or a Kittle, that's your mismatch right there, week in and week out. So grab one of those guys. If you can stack Kelsey and a Stephon Diggs, or Kelsey and even a Tyreek, I'm comfortable with that. Kelsey, DeAndre Hopkins, that's a great stack. That is a great start to a zero running back draft strategy. And then, of course, grab a high-end quarterback, the guys who are going to score the most points. If you're waiting 6 rounds, I mean, I think you can get, Dak Prescott, Kyler Murray. So, grab one of those guys. You don't necessarily have to grab Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen, but grab a higher end, quarterback as well, just to solidify that team. Now, I've got 9 running backs though, that if you're doing this strategy, obviously, you more than likely, who to grab up front, but who are your targets later on? And I've got 9 of them. Plus a couple honorable mentions. I know it's a lot, but I'll run through them real quick for you guys. I just want to give you the best options. So let's start off with the first one. That's Travis Etienne, currently going ADP of 59.9, running back 22. He's going at the end of the 5th round. Like I said, you want to draft on that turn if you're doing this strategy. So you could grab him and then potentially grab another one of the guys I'm about to talk about. But real quick, they wouldn't have grabbed, Travis Etienne where they did the Jaguars if they didn't plan on using him. They talked about it in minicamp and OTAs that they even lined him up as a wide receiver. That's where his value comes from, especially in half point and full PPR leagues. And all these ADPs are half point, by the way. But that's where his value comes from, is from his pass catching work. He's also paired with his college quarterback. So he's got great chemistry there. Now, we did see a little bit of regression last year compared to the prior year in his yards per carry. However, going into the NFL, he went from 7.8 to 5.4. I don't think 7.8 is even close to realistic for him in the NFL. I think he'll be efficient and mix that in with the pass catching work. I think he'll be a great running back 2 and flex option. And if something happens to James Robinson and he's not involved in the offense, whether it's a trade or an injury, Travis Etienne does have running back 1 upside. Could be a top 12 running back this year if something happens. Let's move on. You could stack Travis Etienne if you wanted to with another rookie, Javante Williams. Currently ADP 62.5, running back 23. So he's the next running back off the board. I do believe that Williams will take the starting role from Melvin Gordon at some point this season, probably within the first few weeks. There's another potential here that Gordon could be traded. There have been a couple tweets. I'll just say that. A couple tweets. Nothing solid or anything like that, but it has floated around. And I think at worst, Javante Williams is a 2-down back, and Gordon comes in on the 3rd down for a change of pace guy. Javante can do it all. We saw it at UNC, and I don't think they would have taken a 2nd-round pick if they weren't going to use him. Now, I know they were thinking of the future because Melvin Gordon's contract's up this year and, so on and so forth. But I do believe that Javante Williams will take that starting role from Gordon and run with it. I think he's going to be a solid running back to at least to the back half of the season. And if something happens to Gordon, he could be a solid running back 2 the entire year with running back 1, low end running back 1 upside. I'll say that, low end. And personally, my favorite of the first 3 I've mentioned, Myles Gaskin, because we saw him do it already and we know what to expect. This is year 2 for Tua in this offense. Currently ADP 65.9, running back 24. All right. So you see a little the 3 running backs in a row, 22, 23, 24. He's 24. And honestly, I think he's a steal here. He did miss 6 games last year. I think if he would have played the entire year and been healthy, he'd be going much higher than he is now. Obviously, the Dolphins did not draft a running back. They did bring in Malcolm Brown, but that doesn't scare me much. I think he'll get some goal line work and some short yardage work, but I don't think that's going to take away from Myles Gaskin's upside. Weeks 1 through 8 last year, by the way, they did have a week 7 bye. He was running back 19. So 7 games compared to 8 games for most other running backs, he was running back 19. And the lowest he finished last year was a running back 35. He put up 7.7 points that week. And it wasn't a complete bust. He's been very consistent. Now he did only score 5 touchdowns last year total. I think we see an increase in that. I think we see an increase in games played. I think the Miami Dolphins do have some confidence in him. So I love Myles Gaskin here. He's going to be a very solid and consistent running back 2, as long as he can stay on the field. Number 4, Trey Sermon, ADP of 76, running back 26 off the board. Outside of Raheem Mostert, Trey Sermon has the highest upside in this backfield. Nobody else bothers me in this backfield. I think that even if it's not through, Raheem Mostert it's not a secret. He hasn't been on the field a ton. But even so, even if he is on the field, I think Trey Sermon is going to carve out a very solid role in this offense. And honestly, I want a piece of this offense. I know he's going a little higher than Raheem Mostert, but I think Trey Sermon's durability is a little bit better than Raheem Mostert. And I do think potentially by the end of the season, Trey Sermon, could be this team's not workhorse, because we know they don't like workhorses, but their primary go-to guy. So that's why I like Trey Sermon. Also, one thing to note, I will say this: if his ADP gets closer, because I know a lot of he's been hyped up a ton lately. If he gets close to that early 5th, late 4th round pick, I don't want him. At that point, I would revert back to Mostert and take what he gives me. It's all about value for me, especially if you're going, 0 RB. Now, the next guy, this is a day after Cam Akers' injury, so this could very well change, but I did want to bring him up. Darrell Henderson, ADP of 108.6, running back 35. I think we see it get closer to at least running back 24, where that Myles Gaskin range is. But it's really this pick is totally dependent upon his ADP. If I see him, if you're going 0 RB and you see him, getting closer to that 15, 12 range, you're not taking him anyway. But if he can stay around that RB 24 or lower, I'll take a shot on Darrell Henderson all day. Obviously, there's potential that they bring somebody else in. Xavier Jones could have a nice role in this offense as well. But I think it's Darrell Henderson's to lose unless they bring somebody else in. And even at that point, I think Darrell Henderson will have his weeks. So if he stays around this RB 35, I'm taking him all day. I'm not going to take him if he gets anywhere near Cam Akers was. Pretty much anywhere over RB 20, I'd be out on him. So, Damien Harris, ADP of 86.7, running back 29. There are whispers that Sony Michel may not even make the team. I don't think that really affects Damien too much. I think that'll more affect or help Ramondre Stevenson. James White is still on the team as the pass catching back. I see that him continuing in that role. And last year we saw Damien tie for the most rushing attempts on the team, 137. He tied with Cam Newton. I think that's where his upside will be hindered, is if Cam Newton's the running back, or the quarterback, then Damien Harris's ceiling is capped. His touchdown upside's capped. His rushing upside, or his touches are capped. So I'd really rather see Mac Jones come out as a starter this year in a fantasy perspective. I don't think it happens. But either way, I think Damien Harris is going to be solid. And if Mac Jones, especially if Mac Jones is the quarterback, he is a lock for a running back 2 spot this year. And I'll take that all day in both standard and half PPR formats. PPR, if you're doing full PPR, I'd want him a little lower than that. So last 3 here, James Conner, ADP of 111.6, running back 36. He's a great flex option with a ton of upside. You're drafting him as a running back 3, the last running back 3. And to be honest, with Edmonds there, I believe that we see him slip into that Kenyon Drake role, and Edmonds stays as that complimentary back, similar to what we saw last season. Now, I don't know, overall, Kenyon Drake had a finish-wise a good year. I don't know if we see that from James Conner, but I do think he easily returns on running back 36. Whether I'm going 0 RB or not, he's one of my targets lately. I love him where he's going. And he's been efficient. He's an efficient runner, averaging 4 or more yards a carry. And he does have that pass catching ability. So I think, he's not going to be demanded of a full-time, running back, workhorse back, which may help him. So I like James Conner there at running back 36. Next up, Gus Edwards, ADP of 122.1, running back 41. He's an extremely efficient runner, averaging over 5 yards a carry his entire career. That's awesome. He's a great flex or running back 3 option to have on your roster. He's going to give you solid weeks. He's not going to be a guy you can just plug and play and forget. But he is a low risk guy, and he could fill in that running back 2 spot. He could, as week to week, if your guy's on bye, you could, and depending on the situation, Gus could fit that running back 2 spot. He could find himself into a solid role too, depending on JK and what happens to him in his season. So, and then finally, Nyheim Hines, ADP of 141.8, running back 45. His value really comes from the pass catching work. And with Marlon Mack back, I do think that his carries are capped. At last year, he had 89. I kind of think that's going to be his ceiling. However, I do think he gets back to that 76 targets that we saw last year. So he's got big playability. We saw it last year. I love Nyheim Hines as a solid somebody you can throw in the flex. He's going to have a role carved out somewhat in this offense. I do think people are underestimating Jonathan Taylor's pass catching ability. However, I still think that Nyheim Hines is going to have value, especially for as late as you're drafting him. So those are my 9 guys. I want to give you 3 real quick. I'm not going to talk much about them. Just honorable mentions, if you will. And they're late round guys. So Phillip Lindsay, I think, is going to have a solid role in this offense. He's one of the younger running backs on the team. ADP of 186.8, running back 54. Malcolm Brown, talked about him when I talked about Myles Gaskin. I think he's going to have that goal line work. And if something happens to Myles Gaskin, I think we see his role increase. Even with Salvon Ahmed there, I think we'll see Malcolm get more of the carries and Ahmed get more of the pass catching work. He's going as running back 61. And then finally, Ramondre Stevenson, ADP of 213.6, running back 66. He is a guy I liked coming out of college this year, out of Oklahoma. Very, very strong running back. If Damien Harris doesn't play up to par, I think that Ramondre Stevenson could step in and take over that role. I don't see it being likely, but I do think there's a chance, and grab him as a late round flyer. So anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that's my zero running back strategy take. So if you do decide to go zero RB, those are some of the guys you can target. Again, some of the situations, you're drafting at the back, you're drafting at the turn, and you're in a 3 wide receiver league. Stack up on those receivers. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. If you could please hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, and hit that little bell. We'd really, really appreciate it. Anyway, guys, have a great day. Love ya. Mwah.